You know, that reminds me of a story. Hello, it's Nancy today. A story about a girl who was very bored. She had nothing to do. Couldn't think of anything to do. She was very bored. And she would sit on the step. And somebody asked her, she was telling them that she was bored and there was nothing. And they were saying, you need to learn things. And she says, well, there's nothing to learn. What kind of steps do you sit on? Tell me about the steps you sit on. And so she started researching, and she was on brick. There were brick steps. And as she started to research, she found out the bricks were made of mud and straw. And they were different according to the area that you lived in. You know, if you lived in the desert in the southwest, well, they would be made of adobe. Whereas if you lived up in this area, they would be different. So your color of bricks would be different. And so she figured out where her bricks had come from. Well, because of the color. And she was very interested in all that. And so she compiled all this information. And she gave it to that man. I don't remember if it was a teacher or something. But anyway. And he asked her if there was anything else that was there. And she saw that there was an ant. She'd seen an ant on the steps. So he told her to go find out about the ants. She became so fascinated with the ants as she studied them. She learned how they walked and why they were coming, and you know that they give off some kind of, can't remember what it is, but when one dies, another one will carry it away. And just how does that one that's carrying it away find it? Anyway, she learned all of that. It's interesting that there's so much to learn about every little thing. What we know is nothing. We know a bit. We know superficial things. You know, that's one thing about press trips, is I found that I learned so much wonderfully useless trivia on press trips. For instance, when I was in Cyprus, now Cyprus is off the coast of Israel. Now in Israel, when it was Jesus' time, there was Lazarus who was dead. And Jesus Christ raised him from the dead. Remember that? Well, according to Cyprus, the people, my tour guide, people didn't like him after that. Lazarus was sort of a weirdo. He was sort of the walking dead. He had been dead for quite a few days. Was it 3 or 4? Anyway, and so here he was, alive again. And it really weirded people out. This was at the time when they had lepers. And if a person had leprosy, they were shunned. They went off by themselves into a valley or something, the valley of the lepers or something. So here's this guy who was dead. And they vibed him right out of the city. And so he, of course, was a follower of Jesus Christ, seeing what had happened to himself. And the stories, I guess, that he had been told. So anyway, he left the city and he took a boat, or left Israel. And he took a boat and he sailed out and landed on Cyprus. They must have traded with Cyprus back in those days. Anyway, and so he went to Cyprus. And in there, on that island or country, there's a big, huge church. And his tomb he's buried in the basement. It's the Church of Lazarus, or the Cathedral of Lazarus. It's not a cathedral. It's a big church. Anyway, but he was the first bishop of that church. When Jesus Christ came to, or not Jesus, when Paul came to Cyprus with the gospel. Hey, look at this guy. When Paul came to Cyprus, oh, look are those eyes on his back? Oh, that's neat. Anyway, so when Paul came to Cyprus, he ordained Lazarus as a bishop, and so he was the first bishop in Cyprus. And so they have that that church there, and he's buried there. Isn't that fascinating? And they have his whole genealogy there, right? They knew who his, well, everything about him. Anyway, so that's a little bit of useless trivia. I think it's fascinating that I learned when I was in Cyprus. There's a wealth of useless trivia that's out there. I mean, it's not useless. This little bug. He was crawling from one hand to the next. See, if he can choose it by himself, he'll maybe go there. See, I put something in his eye. Oh, see, he went on it, but the last time he didn't. I don't know what kind of a bug he is. You know what kind of a bug he is? See, this is exactly what I'm telling you about. See how fascinating he is. Now, do those little wings open up and he can fly? Can he hold on upside down? Yep. How does he see? Does he have eyes at the top of his antenna? Or are his eyes at the end of his antennae? And are those legs from underneath his wings? Will he fly away if I touch him? Would he like to be in the sun and not in the shade? He's having a hard time climbing over my fingernail. Now let's see if I put him in the shade again. What will he do? Seems to be doing okay with the shade, doesn't he? See, he might be used to things like a blade of grass which flies around in the wind. Shakes here and there. And a strong wind. Let's see what happens when you blow a strong wind at him. He just walks out of the wind a little bit. Looks like a mayfly, doesn't he? Oh, he's gone. Where did he go? Oh, he's down here in the camouflage. Here he is, again. Oh, and he flew away. He looks just like one of my little mealybugs, didn't he? Those flowers from last year, right along the shore. Oh, it's a pileated woodpecker. He lives in that tree over there. On my telephone pole. Where is his pole? Over there somewhere. Well, I guess I'll let you go. See ya.